The Last Unicorn was an animated fantasy film made in 1982 and was based off of Peter S. Beagle's book of the same name. It was also created by Rankin Bass, the same company responsible for creating Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Thundercats, and Frosty the Snowman. Now, before I get into what I liked and hated about this film, I would like to give out a brief summary on this movie. The movie starts off with a beautiful white unicorn who discovers that she is the last of her kind, and when she finds out that the Red Bull is taking the other unicorn to King Hagrid's castle, she decides to journey across the country to find the other unicorns. Along the way, the unicorn meets up with a young magician named Smedrick, who decides to help her find King Hagrid's castle after the unicorn saves him from Mommy Fortuna, a witch lady who kidnaps innocent animals and puts them in her sideshow. After their encounter with Mommy Fortuna, the unicorn and Smedrick find a determined woman named Molly who decides to join them after she sees the unicorn. Unfortunately, as soon as the three companions reach King Hagrid's castle, they are attacked by the Red Bull, and Smedrick is forced to use his magic to transform the unicorn into a human girl in order to save her from the Red Bull. Now the three are able to get into the castle where they meet King Hagrid and his son Prince Lear, and they must find a way to save the other unicorns while the unicorn in her human form must try to remember who she really is. Alright, so now that you have looked at the title of this film, you're probably thinking that this film is going to be all cute and cuddly. No. Just because unicorn is in the title doesn't mean that this movie is all sunshine and flowers. The Last Unicorn is a very emotional and deep movie that explores the emotions of all the characters in the movie on a deeper level, especially with the unicorn Molly, and that's what made this movie truly special to look at. This movie was pretty unique of its time because while it contained fantasy elements that are common in many animated movies, the theme was pretty heavy, as it discussed not only about following your dreams, but it also discusses about losing your identity in drastic situations, a theme that would later on resurface in Miyazaki's film, Spirited Away. But before I get into the heavy themes of this movie, I would like to discuss about what I liked about this film. For one thing, the animation was quite beautiful for its time, and I love how the unicorn was animated. She truly looked beautiful with her large blue eyes and her white fur. And I especially love the scenes where the unicorn's large silver hair sort of glistens in the moonlight, which makes her look so exotic. I also love the voice actors in this film, as they brought a lot of drama and excitement to the characters. I especially love Angela Lansbury's voice work of Mommy Fortuna, as she truly sounded menacing, and it gave the character life in her portrayal of the small-time villain. The soundtrack on this film was excellent, as it was truly exciting to listen to. And like Phil Collins is to Disney's Tarzan, the pop band America provided most of the songs in this film. And they truly fit in with the mood of the film perfectly, as even America's music sounds truly mesmerizing for this film. I also love the fantasy aspect of the film. As a lover of fairy tales in general, this movie clearly has a fairy tale feel to it, as it contains mythical creatures, castles, magic, and all kinds of wonderful elements you will find in fairy tales, and it really made me get engaged in the film's fantasy world. Now here's my favorite part of my reviews, and that is the theme of the movie. As I mentioned before, the theme of this movie, which discusses about losing your identity in a drastic situation, is told in a very interesting way in this film. During the scene where the unicorn turns into a human being, she is shown to be clearly upset at this, because she was born a unicorn, not to mention that because she was a unicorn, she could not feel any kind of emotion that humans would feel. Therefore, the idea of her actually having any kind of emotion frames her. It's sort of like how a human feels about turning into a monster, because that human will have to deal with the changes within his or her body when they transform into a monster. And those changes within the body can be frightening, especially if you don't understand what is happening to you. Later on, when the unicorn takes on a different persona and calls herself Lady Amethea, she slowly starts to lose her identity because she's been human for so long that she begins to forget that she ever was a unicorn. I love how the film brought out these themes because we really felt sadness from the unicorn when she transformed into a human, and we felt sympathy for the unicorn when she became confused about who she really is, and why she was at King Hagrid's castle in the first place. This film stresses the idea that having your own identity is important, especially if you want to achieve a goal in life and you want to remember about your past life and what you had to do to go achieve that goal. The unicorn had to remember who she really was in order to save the other unicorn, since that was her goal when she got to King Hagrid's castle, and her struggles in remembering who she was truly made it into a character that we truly connect with. Now, here was one tiny problem I had with this film, and that was the fact that it was a bit too slow in many scenes. Some of the scenes seemed to drag on for so many minutes that I keep wondering to myself about when the exciting scenes will ever come up. It's good and all that the movie shows scenes of the unicorn running, or Symmetric and the unicorn traveling together, toward King Hagrid's castle. But personally, I wanted to get to the exciting scenes as soon as possible, so that way I would not usually let my mind wander whenever a slow scene comes up. The Last Unicorn is rated G, although I think that the rating should have been a light PG because of the language. Now, it was common at the time, and this was 1982, for animated films to be rated G regardless of the content. Although the only other animated film from the 80s that I remember was rated PG was Fire and Ice, but that film was edgier than The Last Unicorn, so why The Last Unicorn has some brief language and some intense scenes. I think that children will enjoy this film provided that the parents should be there to explain the heavy themes to the children. Overall, I give The Last Unicorn an 8.9 out of 10, because while the writing was brilliant and the characters were truly memorable, some of the slow scenes in this movie sort of dragged on longer than they were supposed to, and it was a bit hard to watch those scenes. Well, that's my review on The Last Unicorn, and be sure to tune in next time as I review Disney's dark classic, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.